Hello, denizens. I thought I was done with the Acolyte, but then Paul Tassi from Forbes magazine wrote this ridiculous piece defending Amandla Stenberg, star of said show, who recently opened up her cake hole on Instagram. First of all, she is a child of social media, so it should not be surprising that her disappointment of her canceled show would be something she felt the need to address publicly. Totally understandable. There will be many people who will want to bathe with her in her shower of disappointment. The woman also has a massive ego. That doesn't mean she isn't a nice person, but now that she has starred in a Star Wars project, that ego has been elevated, even in its failure. Paul Tassi, who uses Stenberg's bleating as a jumping-off point for his deranged screed, birds of a feather, I guess. The Acolyte star finally comments on the show's cancellation. Paul goes on to write, "That would be Amandla Stenberg, who played twins, Osha and May, on the show, who took to Instagram to film a lengthy story discussing her thoughts, which included long sections about the racism and vitriol she and the other cast members received, even before the show was out." Then he quoted from her video, "There has been a rampage of vitriol that we have faced since the show was even announced, when it was still just a concept and no one had even seen it. That's when we started experiencing a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry and vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language towards us." Honestly, the rest of the video is not horrific, and she spends most of the remaining time, being grateful for the experience and showering praise on Leslie Headland, the creator and showrunner for the canceled series. It ends with a veiled warning against voting for the Donald. But once again, we have a self-absorbed star of yet another doomed-for-failure Star Wars project complaining how it was targeted with vitriol from the start by rampaging, hyper-conservative bigotry, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language. Let's break down this nonsense. Fundamentally, Amandla is accusing Star Wars fans of being rampaging, hyper-conservative bigots upon the Acolyte announcement. Who are these bigots? I should add that at no time does she provide receipts. But that's par for the course. First of all, she totally neglects the fact that by now, most Star Wars fans have already been badly burned by a litany of bad shows. Secondly, and I'm sorry to admit this, we are tired of the conveyor belt of Star Wars girl bosses culminating in the dreadful Ahsoka just before your ignominious debut. Now, I fully understand that shows can be years in the making and you could be the victim of some bad timing, but I don't care. It seems the industry, including comics and gaming, have all been on an anti-male hero rampage that has resulted in plunging sales. Who knew? You get no sympathy from me. Finally, what little we had heard, including the sound bites from you and Jodie Turner-Smith at D23, just seemed to confirm all our fears of how bad this project was going to be.
She's a powerful leader. Yes.
When it comes to the world of fantasy and sci-fi in general, it hasn't felt like a safe space always for people of color.
What exactly does Star Wars not being a safe space for people of color mean? You're wondering why the project was under attack from the start when you are making stupid accusations? But notwithstanding that, I would suggest the vitriol was targeted at the show, not you or the cast. Okay, maybe we did go overboard with the nepotistic hiring of Rebecca Henderson, but never mind. And how do the aforementioned concerns paint us not just conservative but hyper-conservative, whatever that is. There might be pop culture conservatives, but their complaints revolve around the fact that Disney has bummed their favorite property. To Star Wars fans, this show looked terrible from the get-go. I get it. You don't think so. And while I won't argue that there might have been trolls behaving badly, I don't condone racist remarks. The fact remains that people with a political agenda take any criticism as an attack when it's just criticism. You're going, oh boy, I got a job, while we're taping up posters up on light poles asking for any information as to Star Wars' whereabouts. Tassie writes, an entire industry on YouTube was formed dedicated to tearing the Acolyte apart each week, accusing it of being woke or terrible in some form or another, and racial hatred has indeed been thrown the cast's way, as we have seen many, many times with other cast members in Star Wars, from John Boyega to Kelly Marie Tran. Most notably, in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, Ewan McGregor felt compelled to speak out about the harassment and racism his co-star Moses Ingram was enduring. Paul. An entire YouTube industry could be created just calling what you write stupid. The Acolyte wet its own bed. Were many acid-tongued YouTubers along for the ride? Sure, you bet. What do you think Rex Reed has been doing for a living for decades? And pulling out the racial hatred card once again is just plain lazy. The only people who hated John Boyega was the communist Chinese government. And as far as poor Kelly Marie Tran was concerned, don't dress her in a potato sack. And we are all familiar with the now famous Ewan McGregor weeping from his car shtick. Paul, if any of the efforts these actors participated in were any good at all, then at least you'd have a control sample. That's the problem. We don't. That being said, not a lot of complaints about Rogue One, the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian at least, and a couple of the episodes of Andor. That's a pretty sad sampling for a property that was purchased for $5 billion. So Stenberg claims to have heard the racist DM sent to Moses Ingram from Obi-Wan and wept that we stand with Moses, we love Moses. And if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fans in my mind. There's no place for racism in this world, and I totally stand with Moses. Well, so far, no one else has seen hide nor hair of these infamous DMs. Look, I get it, Amandla. You're standing up for your fellow homie. Well, I mean, that is your mum's side, not your rich Danish white father side. But are you telling me no one else on your show got bad notices? Manny Jacinto got some great notices. He's not white. How did that happen? Because he didn't stink. Paul, it was very gallant of you to come to the rescue of Amandla and defend the Acolyte, but the show was terrible, and the numbers proved it. Perhaps the pylon seems worse because we expect more from Star Wars, more from a multi-billion-dollar entertainment enterprise. Disney is like a man of the cloth caught diddling a child. It just seems that much worse, doesn't it? Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.